welcome back to the show, and I'm joined with our family business guy, Mr. John Burns. How are you, John?
Very good, thanks.
John, we were just talking, we had a bit of a conversation off air before we threw the camera on, but we're just talking, one of the things you find sometimes when you're discussing business matters with business owners is them recognizing whether they're actually a family business or not. And I found that intriguing.
Yeah. Well, some people will start a business and over time they'll invite family members to come and help them. Could be the wife doing some invoicing, could be somebody just doing some logistics. But when they're working day to day, they don't think that they're relying on family, or the terminology family business doesn't even strike them as, yes, it is a family business. So here the definition comes in: 2 or more family members who have strategic control of the business. Then, okay, all of a sudden when I ask the question, would you consider yourself a family business? They think twice and go, yeah, we are.
And strategic control is one of your key words there I was picking up. We'll just come back to that in a minute. But what does it mean for them when they suddenly realize they are, in your words, a family in business? You know, we talk family business, but you say, well, you're a family now in business. What does that do to their mindset and the shifts that can now occur for them?
Well, I suppose it's a big choice for them, isn't it, when they start to realize that. Imagine that all of a sudden you're made aware of something that you think has no effect on you, you can ignore it. And that's really great. So when Jimmy or Sandra, and they're both 18 or 19 years old and they're working and doing some work for the business and they're going to go off to university, maybe they will, maybe they'll come back to the family and work in the business in the future, or maybe they won't. Would you like them to? Do you want them not to come back?
Or
how would you structure a payment plan? Have you had a conversation about what if? How are you going to replace them? These are questions that you might want to ask as they go through school or plan ahead for. You might want to talk to them. They might be thinking, growing up at 15, do mum and dad want me to come into the business?
Now that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Sometimes and I reflect, because we're in Western Australia for the overseas viewers, and we have a lot of farmers over here with the wheat farming. And I suppose they're one of the questions is they expect their sons to go into farming, and their sons are going, well, I don't know about that. I've been down in the big smoke now. I might not come back. But there's a flip side to that, isn't there? Some of the farmers, or no matter what family business is, the son or the daughter or an uncle or an auntie goes, well, you've got a business. There's my skill sets. I could join you.
The next generation have their own issues that they have to think through. Using your farming analogy, do I stay on the farm and live the life of a monk, or do I go to town and party hard and find myself a partner?
Yeah.
So there's lots of different perspectives on opportunity, especially when there was more than one child in the family.
It's interesting, and I'm going to reflect back on the words you used a moment ago, making strategic decisions once it's a family business, and who's in charge of strategic decision making. And we're talking about kids, and we're talking about siblings, and we're talking about relatives. But there's some serious questions, because in business we can have a board, or even it's just an advisory board, non-formal, but we got the board table at home as well, where everyone's sharing dinner. Strategic decision making.
Yeah, this is more the size of the business will give you a kind of a headspace to deal about how big are we today? Are we just a corner store? Are we a news agency? Are we a small manufacturing business? Are we a services company? Are we distributors? The bigger you get, the more decisions you'll have to make. The capital requirements will be different. The shareholdings may be different. The advisory board might be different. Do we pay other people to come and give us their feedback? Which is different to having a consultant come in. So there's a lot of stuff at play if you want to, as you're growing, get strategic perspective on the business.
So once a business, and I know you've come with us a few times and you've done it with me, so we talk here, and my wife works in the business, says, well, you're a family business, there's two of you now in it, and I'm like going, yeah, and my wife will say there's only one boss, so, and it isn't me apparently, But it is a really interesting perspective. I suppose that is the conversation, that if it is going to be a family business, the options and the decisions to be made as you then grow it, do you grow it as a family business or you grow it not as a... Do you find when you have these conversations, it's your ability, because you've been there and done it, your ability to then be the sounding board, the reflector, to be able to ask the correct questions that opens these questions up for them or gives them the answers they need?
Somebody external to challenge their ideas is, in my mind, critically important. But this little conversation we're having here is for a small startup business.
Yeah.
What about the situation if you're already fourth or fifth generation? Okay? So these conversations that we're having, you'll need a different perspective, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. When you have a look at it and someone is in that quandary, say, and you've come and you've identified that you actually are a family in business, like it or not, your decision making now is you're going to continue this path or not. What are a couple of things that go, oh, I didn't realise that, now I am. What should they now be thinking of, or what are some of the key questions they need to ask themselves as they start to morph into this reality?
Do you want to? The first question is, do I want to continue this as a family business?
I knew that was coming.
If you're going to think about the business as a family business, then, and I do want to continue it forward, then, okay, how do I talk to the rest of the family about what we choose to do and how we choose to approach it going forward?
If you're talking to someone, you talk to lots of people, John, as an advisor, and they go, okay, we are a family business, and if I'm going to grow this, John, what do you see? You've been there, you've done this, you've had a family business, you've bought the family business yourself. What do you see as some of the positive attributes to actually growing it as a family business?
The biggest thing is trust.
Ooh.
So you trust your family. Or maybe not in some cases, but those that you trust, if you're in business with them, there's an expectation that you can do pretty much what you want to or need to do with the support and the backup of those other family members that are doing their jobs within the business. If I'm the leader and I need to go on a holiday because I haven't had a break for maybe 3 years and I want to take 2 weeks off.
Everyone's going.
Here I am, okay, daughter number one, you've been backing me, you're in charge, this is the way we're going to go about it. Or you can have a conversation about how we're going to make it so that I can actually have my break. Aside from trust, knowing that everybody's got your back, you don't have to watch the till every couple of minutes, check the cash flow, there's still business governance that you're going to want to make sure that things are tracking properly.
Yeah. These
days, technology, you can stay in touch. Another thing that you get is a longer term perspective. So in a business, somebody might come along and say, okay, I want to buy your business. If you're the owner, you might say, yeah, sounds like a good thing, I'll sell out because I can do something else tomorrow.
Yes.
If you've got family members in the business, well, hang on a second. Maybe I want to get feedback from them. Do they like this business? Maybe they would like the opportunity to buy the business instead of me selling to the offer. Maybe I might structure it so that the kids can buy the business from me. So there's that. Longer term thinking, because we are family and we like to keep the cash flow rolling for a long time, giving us the clothes on our back, meals on the table, education that we're taking, we can fund our kids' education and growth. Yeah. Maybe we want to be able to do this long term. So we're thinking profitable long-term business. Then there's the opportunity to say, okay, I'm not in it for the quick sale. I'm not going to grow the business really hard, dump in a whole lot of capital, expect somebody to come and I'll put it on the market in 5 years' time. So you've got two different perspectives here. That's just a few of the ones off the top of my head.
It was interesting you were talking about, and there's that trend where families in business and the older generations are looking to leave like legacies and don't want to sell out. They've created something they'd like to see the generations build this around. Do you find that, pardon me, is that people that do that, it is part of the motivational driver behind the original instigators of family businesses or families in business, that the long-term thinking is, I want to leave something for the next generation.
It's a combination. Yes, there are people that want to leave things for the next generation.
Yeah.
That's more of a stewardship picture, where I would like to leave this, it was left to me, I would like to leave it to my children, and I want to leave it in as good or better condition than it was given to me. So there's a little bit of conditional stuff in there maybe. But also there's this charitable perspective. Longer term, we can give to charity. Longer term, if we are connected to a community or a cause, then that gives us as a family something that we stand for. It matches our family values. And that's another perspective. And there's research been done and proven that those families that do give to charity, that understand as a group that it matches their values to give back to community,
yes.
They actually get along incredibly well. And they have less arguments, strangely enough, because there's more of a purpose behind their business.
That's a really interesting, and that really does appeal to myself, John. When you talk that stuff, I mean, people always say, you tick my buttons. But I understand, because now, I suppose like anything, as we grow through life, we tend to, little kids, it's all about us. Where's my toys, where's everything else? But as we mature, and I suppose in business, initially when we set off, it's got to be about us, we've got to feed the family. But you get to that stage where your perspective starts turning outwards, and it's like, oh no, I want to do this for this person, I want to do that. And so I can understand with charities and those values that align, when you've got a family that's giving externally, it just multiplies the impact and the value, and I'm talking about the value you get inside of yourself, reward, right, not just monetary.
Well, there are large corporations out there with some very big shareholders, and they go, how much is enough? And let's give some away. And there are some big names that have given lots of money away.
There are.
In the local community here and in the international community.
For yourself, on a personal perspective, because someone who's been there and done that, you grew up in the family business. Well, you grew up in schools, and you got into the family business and trained from ground up and did all the training. What did you glean out of having a business where the family was in a business? What did you get for it personally? What personal satisfaction was in it for yourself?
Interesting question. In my head, I roll back to the connectivity between my grandfather, my father and my uncle, the family that were there, the employees we had. There was something special about it. Lots of change since then. So, yes, there's some proud history that I have. I feel very strongly about it.
Yes.
I had a very strange experience one day. If you're in Australia driving across the Nullarbor, you'll know it's a long drive.
Oh, yes.
And I came to a service station, a fuel stop, just on one side of the desert, and went inside. There were 5 little cabins, and they had drop showers, so it was salt water, mineral water. It's not a pleasant experience.
No.
And I went to pay the bill. In those days, we had something called a bank card. It was the first of our real credit cards in Australia. And when I handed it to the man, the solitary person in charge of this place, he looked at my name and he said, do you know Popper? And I said, he was my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
He said, I worked for him when I first arrived in Australia. Really good to meet you. I had a lot of fun. I spent a lot of good... And I'm sitting there going, I'm in the middle of nowhere in Australia. And believe me, when you're in the middle of nowhere, you're in the middle. There's no one for miles. It was a connection to my grandfather.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the stuff money just can't buy. And I think that's the when people are looking, they say at the end of your time you build all this and you've done all that. I think it's the memories you create, not just the money, but it's the memories and those connectivities, and yeah, it's something that's almost intangible, isn't it? To put your finger and go, they're the words to express it, but you can.
I talk about purpose a lot with families who are in business. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So Simon Sinek has a great book, Why?
Yes.
Okay. And so why am I talking family business to people? Principally because that's where I feel I can make the most contribution.
When you suddenly realise we are the family in business, a lot of business owners, we've got our advisors, we've got our tax advisors, some of us have got lawyers and different people. Do you think it changes then the relationship that you would expect from your accountant and your lawyers and the advisors when you are a family in business?
The relationship you will have with a professional services provider is critical to the long-term continuity of your family and business. So ideally, you want as good an expert as you can supporting you. If you have family conversations, you need to be really clear on what it is you're trying to achieve. If you're speaking to an accountant, their focus might be tax, in which case the client could be you personally or the business. So the most tax effective circumstance might not necessarily in 10 years' time be the best outcome for individuals in the family. So we need to really think through what that might look like and do some what ifs. At the same time, you might speak to the lawyer and he'll say, well, or she might say, let's put this kind of structure in place and then we will have what you particularly would like to have now. And that'll last for maybe 5 or 10 years or even longer. But again, having a structure in some cases is not necessarily the right way to go for the individuals that are in the family. So we need to have somebody, in my opinion, we need to have somebody that's looking after not just the family as a whole, but also the individuals within that family, working with the other advisors as a group of advisors.
Yeah.
You can't work alone in this service side of it.
No. And one thing I have noticed with yourself, John, that there are these professional service advisory people, and we were at a talk, it's actually on your YouTube channel, where you actually addressed a group of accountants, quite high end, because as professionals, and this is what you've got to recognise, they are professionals, they're going, okay, we need someone with a very clear perspective to help us understand the entire family dynamic so we can give better advice from our perspective for the family. I found that really interesting. There's this shift and recognition going as part of the professional development that they've got to continue doing. They're going, yep, we need someone like you so we can better understand the entire dynamics, not just a singular point of the company.
It's an interesting question when you ask a professional, who is your client? So it's the person, I don't know. For everybody it's going to be a little bit different, isn't it?
True, yes.
So is it the company, or is it the individual owner of that business, the major shareholder, or is it the shareholders? So who do we work for?
Yeah.
And then if there's a number of family members, and they're all possibly included to be as directors of the business, who is the client? How do I make sure? And the children, and longer term great-grandchildren, or
Yeah.
so it starts to get possibly a little bit cloudy, and we need to get some clarity. So it's all about asking the questions, not just from a family group perspective, but from individuals within the family. And then we can have little hiccups come along the way because individuals in families take partners.
Yes.
And then we have the term the in-law, and those in-laws have different backgrounds and different understandings, and there's getting clarity around what possibilities might happen there.
It's really, I suppose at the end of the day, if you are a family that's in business and you realise we are, then the value of having someone like yourself step in to ask things that we may not have even thought of, like some of the things you talk about that seem natural to you to talk about because you talk about them every day. I'm sure you come across families that sit there and go, never thought of that.
I had one particular client some time ago where two business partners had been working together for some years. One of the business partners fell in love with his partner's sister. That was fine. They then obviously fell in love. They got married. Not obviously. They went over time. They decided to marry. As soon as they married, those partners became family.
So we're going to switch from me and you just being business owners.
Business partners. Conversations were fine.
Yeah.
The reason I got invited into the conversation is there was some money issues that cropped up where there was an imbalance. Not intentional, but over time, the business needed some changes and some financing, and there was some structural changes that hadn't been talked through clearly enough, and over time, changed the relationship between the two business partners.
It's interesting, and I'll do a personal. I won't tell you the exact circumstances, but things for our business here. We had this conversation before we came to air, and my wife's very much going, this is a good decision, we should do it. And I've got the hesitation, which is unusual for me, but I did have hesitations. And it was great to have someone like yourself who got no emotional buy-in on this whatsoever. We had the conversation, you went, here's the questions I'd be asking. I'm going, okay, I can answer them all. You went, well, now this is what you can do then. It was like, I think that sounding board, that's what I'm trying to say, is sometimes emotions stop us making decisions either correctly or incorrectly, but they still need to be made, especially when it's a family and business. And having someone like yourself who can go, okay, let's clear the cloud. Let me ask for clarity.
Where I come from is asking the questions.
Yeah.
I'm never going to tell you what to do.
No.
If I tell you what to do, it's no longer your choice. Then I can be carrying the baggage about, well, it's John's fault I went and did this.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with me. It's the most incredible perspective. I'm invited in to work with people.
And I can speak personally from just when you talk like that, yes, you don't make the decision, but I found you're asking the questions. I'm just saying personally, and I won't discuss what the position was, but when we talked, you empowered me to make the decision without telling me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that is really, is that what you find with a lot of clients when you sit in rooms with them, when we've got a mixture of personalities? I'm sure a few people are going, we can relate.
It takes time to get to know everybody in the family, everybody in the game.
Yeah.
It takes time. And some people are on their journey at different stages. The younger ones are still learning. The older ones have got really clear issues that they know what they want, they know where they want to go, they know how they want to do it. And there are a lot of people that when they go through business, their business is so much of their life, they don't think of anything afterwards.
Yes.
In which case, there's issues there for the younger generation who say, I want mum and dad to have a holiday or have a break or just forget about it. And mum and dad can't because they've never ever thought. So sometimes, or a lot of the time, I will say, talk to your mum and dad and ask them what are they going to retire to. And if they say nothing, we're just going to do this, then at least you've got some clarity.
What an interesting question. We've come to the end of the show. I'm getting the wind up and I know you've got other appointments. What are you going to retire to? What a fascinating question to ask somebody. Yes, that'll challenge a few people. It's been an absolute pleasure, John, talking to you once again. And for people who are families in business, realise there's a couple of us in the family, we are really a family in the business together. What's the best way of contacting you for having one of those chats? It is really, really empowering. I can vouch that personally. What's the best way of contacting you, John?
You can contact me via email, john@johnbruns.com, or you can call me on my mobile. Australia is +61, and then the number is 433 131 070. If you're local in Australia, it's 0433 131 070.
And I will say that it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You've just come back from the States once again, off to Malaysia as well. Beautiful thing about Skype, Zoom, doesn't matter where you are now, does it? You
Not really.
can consult everywhere. It's absolutely fantastic.
Technology makes it a lot easier for me.
Until next time, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you check out John's website. I will say, when you go on the website, there's a pretty cool feature on there, just personally. You can actually book a little 15-minute spot in there, just for that little feel it out and see if it is right for you. And if it is right for you, then you can take it further. Thank you once again, and thank you, John, and we'll come back next time.
Thanks, Mark.